do that now, record to the cloud.
Okay, here we are, welcome. But before, because we're movers, before we go any further, before we utter a word, let us move. Lisa?
Oh yes, okay, everybody. It's winter here. Let's just rub our hands together, get alive, get the energy going. I'll put in the chat a little excerpt from a poem by Carl Sandburg on Isadora Duncan. Let's just, yeah, he wrote a poem about Isadora Duncan. So I'm gonna say the part. We're gonna do the African style call and response here, okay? So it goes the wind, and you all will move to I am the wind. Then I say the sea and the moon. I am the sea and the moon. You move in response to that. Then I say tears, pain, love, bird flights. You move to I am all of them. I dance what I am. Okay? So you're going to do the action. So I'm going to go the wind, and then you respond with your movement. I am the wind. Yes. And I go the sea and the moon. You respond with your embodiment. I am the sea and the moon. So you get it, yeah? And then we all dance. I dance what I am. All right, here we go. The wind. Good. The sea and the moon. Tears, pain, love, bird flights. And let's all dance together and say, I dance what I am. Beautiful. Now, awesome. Can we put our sounds on though, so we can actually say it together? I dance what I am, right?
Okay.
Let's say it together so we can hear you. Let's send that out in the universe. And in typical 5, 6, 7, 8, or we can go in Swahili. Ja, le, tu, ne. I dance
what I am. I dance what I am.
Beautiful. Thanks everyone for that moment, just sharing that moment. Thank you. Okay, over to you, Nikki.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. We cannot go on without moving. We're movers. I think we did that first and foremost. And so we had to start like that. Dance on the Child is about the movers and the creators, and here we are. So here we are again in our second conversation. We had one on Wednesday, chaired by Sophia McCain and Kathy Bond, and they spoke with the co-chairs for the next conference. And so today we have the privilege of the international chair, Suzanne Koff, who is with us. We'll be talking with our youngsters and talking with us about daCi. We have so many questions. But one of the reasons we're here is because the advisory board, the executive of the advisory, decided that we should remain in contact with each other during this time. The pandemic was happening. We couldn't have our conference this year. And so we didn't want to lose touch with each other. And so February 14, we started this conversation, basically, in terms of how we stay connected as members of daCi, as movers, because we need each other. That's what dance is about, community. So we wanted to keep our daCi community together, and for us to know that we are being thought about, no matter where the next person's at, and no matter where we are in the world, and we're all over the world. And so here we are with our special daCi branded Connect program. And this is our last one, unless somebody slips in one by tomorrow, which is the 31st. And some persons are already experiencing tomorrow today. You know how it is. So we have decided, the advisory, that we should stay connected. And with that, we decided on a program that persons could volunteer. And we have had some wonderful things. I believe that Carolyn did a great job as a national rep in trying to get Jamaica and Barbados and those who are thinking about daCi want to be bringing us together. So that was fabulous. But I couldn't not have done all of this as the lead without a wonderful team of awesome females. We have two of them with us today, and that's Lisa Wilson and Shama Harding. And we had, as I said before, Sophia and Kathy on Wednesday. Thank you very much. We did, I think, a wonderful job. You supported all the parts. We had great ideas, and we were able to connect and speak with national reps in other spaces, even if they're not able to present or to be here. We have had dialogue. They know that daCi is alive. Many of them have questions, but at some point we'll be able to respond to those. But I want to thank you for coming this afternoon, though, and for when I said to Susan, our international chair, at the last minute, it's an idea we had. It may not work, but it may. Let us do it, because I think we need to connect with her. And so she said yes. And here we are for this conversation. But before we go any further, I would like Shama to introduce our international chair to our world. Go ahead, Shama.
Okay, let me switch over. Okay, just making sure you can still hear me because I've switched the phone. Okay, good. Okay, Susan Koff is a clinical professor in the dance education program at NYU Steinhardt. Past positions include the kinesiology and curriculum and instruction faculties at Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, coordinator of the dance and dance education program at Teachers College, Columbia University, a master's degree program preparing students for PK-12 New York State dance certification, and faculty positions at the University of Denver, Pennsylvania State University, and at the Jerusalem Rubin Academy of Music and Dance in Israel. Susan is currently at NYU. She is the chair of the TEC, which is the Teacher Education Council, which successfully achieved recent AAQEP 7-year accreditation for all certification teacher education programs. All of Dr. Koff's academic and service activities are in the area of dance education, both within the United States and in the international arena, including AERA. She currently serves as the chair of the board for Dance and the Child International, daCi. As a Fulbright Scholarship recipient, Dr. Koff assisted with the development of dance education curriculum at the National School for Contemporary Dance in Copenhagen, Denmark. Publications are in the journal. She has publications in the Journal of Dance Education, Research in Dance Education, and Childhood Education. She recently published Dance Education, a redefinition through, is that Methuen Bloomsbury of London. So welcome, Dr. Koff. It's a pleasure to have you in our conversation today, in our chat today.
And we have an international chair indeed. Notice that. Now, how we'll proceed, it's a conversation. We want to keep it light, even though we're getting information and we're sharing knowledge. We want to ensure that we keep it nice and light. And so I will not introduce the individuals, especially our youngsters. Where are my youngsters? They're the ones who will be taking a hold today and asking of our international chair all the things that you want to know about daCi, all that you want to know about her, all you want to know about dance, and so forth and so forth. And so when you come on to the space to ask your question, please introduce yourself, say your name. You may say your age, but maybe you are at that age already where you don't want to share that. I'm not picky. You may say your name, your age, where you're from, and what you like about dance. Then you can proceed with your questions. You can say it in any order. We just want to make sure that we know who you are and that your question gets to the chair. So who wants to go first? Oh, Jodine, I see you're rocked. It was you?
Okay, no problem, sure. Well, good afternoon. This afternoon where I am Jodine Scaife. I'm from the Culture Theatre School of Dance here in Jamaica. What does that mean? What I love about dance, for me, dance was a lifesaver. For me, definitely. Well, dance has molded me. Definitely for me, I consider it a lifesaver. My questions would be, so when is the actual days, like the date for the daCi conference? When are we actually doing that? Is it going to be, I know I've heard that it's probably online. Is it fully online? Are we meeting, some schools meeting whichever country they are and video, or is everything going to be virtual? Not sure how that's going to work. And how long will the conference run? So are we doing the same time period that you guys normally have, or it's going to be shorter? It's going to be longer since it's online? Those are my questions.
Great. Okay, thank you, Jodine. And like we talked about before, it's great seeing you again. I love seeing your enthusiasm for daCi, and I hope you continue to stay involved since it's been so much fun for you so far and all the connections you've made. The conference is going to be next year, next July, approximately. I don't have the exact dates, but if we look at a calendar, the second week of July, it will run the same duration number of days that it normally runs in the face-to-face conference, that there will be an opening on a Sunday evening, and then we'll have full days Monday through Friday. The difference with it being online and nobody will be present there is the chairs of the conference have arranged 3 different time zones. So that people can be involved, because here we are all in our awake time, but there are people in Australia and Asia and New Zealand who are currently sleeping. And so we want to do, oh, thank you, Lisa. She just put the dates in the chat. So we want to have several different time zones during the day. So each day they're going to try to structure slightly differently. And because even though they're structuring it differently, there will be somebody who is always sleeping during one of the time zones. Many of the events will be recorded. Many of the events will be recorded, and then you can go to the conference website and watch it afterwards. Some of the other ideas to make the connection, which we talked about during the Wednesday meeting with the chairs, is that maybe in smaller regional areas, people can get together. So the conversation, I'm glad representatives from Jamaica and Barbados are here. There's thoughts of maybe several Caribbean countries gathering in one location, of course, if travel is available and permitting at that point, and at least get a smaller group together who are live. If you are in a group that's submitting, oh, great, and Lisa's going to try to do that. That's really excellent. So, and I'm in touch, obviously, with daCi USA, and I'm going to encourage them to do that so that there will be people, at least not all from the same city together. We have an event. I'm looking at you, Carolyn Russell Smith, that is called Twinning. And that is where you collaborate with somebody who you may never meet face to face, but you choreograph online, much the way that you started working with Anna Mansbridge. And I hope that you're putting that forward as a twinning project. And so your kids may still continue the choreography that happens online and present it at the conference that way. Some of the other ideas is, for those of you who have been to a daCi conference in the past, is we usually put together people randomly in something called creative gatherings, so that all the students from the same group are not still continuing with their group, but they're randomly assigned to students from other countries and other groups. And then you do a creative process where you meet every day during the week. And if you're in a place, again, where you could at least be with some of the people locally, and have a local facilitator along with, there will be somebody who's been organized from daCi International. And of course, those will have to be organized according to time zones, not just a single time zone, because we can see here we're in a couple of different time zones, but obviously time zones where people are awake. And then we hope the plans for the future are the following conference. As we wake up every day and we follow news about virus and the health and everything, we just don't know how quickly international travel is going to resume and local health parameters. And so what we'll plan to do for that conference is maybe do something called hybrid, where some people will be able to travel and some people won't. Or maybe they can travel a little further afield, but not as far as that conference, for example. So to gather with different people together. So with all of that, it still promises to be a very exciting event. You can meet people and maybe if you've been to a daCi conference before, you can engage with people online who you've met in the past. And you can also make plans to meet them face to face in the future. So that would be really exciting. So I hope I've answered all your questions.
Yes, Dr. Koff, thank you so much.
Great. Zaria, are you ready to go with your question?
My question is, out of all the daCi, which is your most memorable?
That's really putting me on the spot.
In trouble now, getting you in trouble.
I'm in trouble. I'm looking right at you, Nikki, and saying, I love Jamaica. I love Jamaica. It was so much fun. I think most memorable for me is every country that I get to go to that I've never been to before, because as much as it is nice to meet the people I already know from daCi, I just get to meet so many new people and see places I never would have imagined going. Now, I live in New York, so going to Jamaica is not the biggest trip ever, except it's just a place I was too busy to travel to see. So it was so exciting. And it really sort of engaged me with the spirit that I know so many of you have brought to conferences in the past. And yes, Lisa, we need to all get to Africa. That would be a dream come true. Yes. So there are so many places. I want to talk about many of them because each one has unique properties. My very first daCi was in Finland. I never thought I would go to Finland. So that was done in the land of the lakes in Kuopio, which is in central Finland, and it was really magical. What was magical there was that it stays light really late in the summer, and we just stayed awake for hours. So that was magical. After Finland, it was in the center of Canada, and I'd only been to the very eastern coast of Canada. So that was really exciting to see something much more rural and open and very wide. I'm going to lose my place. Oh, then we went to Brazil. Oh my goodness. And there's another place I never thought I would go. And that was really fascinating, and just the cultural differences. And where did we go after that? We went to The Hague. My brain is like, and The Hague, you know, for those of us who have a chance to visit Europe, we always go to the biggest cities and then usually move along. So going to The Hague took us outside of Amsterdam, which was interesting seeing in the Netherlands. And after that, this was really different for me. We went to Taiwan, so to Taipei, and that again was very different. And we got introduced to a lot of different culture. And Lisa, your time is coming soon, because I really think that Taiwan was our very first time in Asia. So we open up different parts of the world with each new conference. No, before Taiwan was Jamaica, then Taiwan, then Copenhagen, back to Europe, and then Adelaide. Did any of you go to Adelaide? Yes, okay. Very different part of the world again. Big trip also, very big trip. So they've all been so exciting. And I just look forward to more exciting places to travel.
Excellent. Tabisa, is it Tabisa?
Yeah, well, maybe we can go to Team Nara student first. Tabisa is a teacher. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
We can go
I
to
was so ready for you, even though my video doesn't show. Hi, we can go to Timna then.
yeah. I love Tabisa. Tabisa is always on. Let's go, Timna.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Timna Tibisono. I'm a student at UCT. I'm majoring in theater and dance performance studies, English and media and writing, and I'm a dancer with Tabisa Dance Academy. And my question is all over the place, but I think you understand what I'm trying to get at. I think one major thing I've been interested a lot the moment I got into the tertiary education space was our intersectionality as people. So considering the fact that I've never been in any of I think it's daCi, is that the pronunciation, daCi conferences, is it just a dance conference, or is there anything else that daCi provides in terms of the conferences in order to get people to identify the different kinds of ways that they intersect? Because considering the fact that the people in Africa, the people in Europe, and we come together in this conference, and amongst those people, you have people who form part of different social categories, and this is in the form of race, in the form of gender, in the form of sexuality. So is there anything, or are there sit-down conferences or talks that are provided then, so that we, as much as we dance and acknowledge one another's backgrounds and cultures in this form of dance, we actually get to know about one another and the countries that we come from and our privileges and our backgrounds, and how that sets us apart, though we have been brought together by dance?
I so love your question, and I could talk for the next 5 hours about that, except I don't think we'll all stay on this call for that long. So I'll try to give you the short answer. But I know that Lisa knows how to be in touch with me. So if you would like to take this conversation further, that would be great too. Very philosophical, yes, Lisa, and I really gravitate towards those questions. The daCi conference is so rich. Even though as it started, it's called Dance and the Child International, because there was nothing really for the young people except for like competitions and things like that, which is not at all what we're about. The daCi conference, I like to say, is about the child in all of us. And it encompasses all the ages that are possible to travel. So it could be from a 2-year-old to a 99-year-old, if people can travel and are well to get there. And there are many things happening simultaneously. The only unfortunate thing I can say is with all the simultaneity, you can't possibly engage with everything at the same time. So I will add also, with your philosophical bent, that the organizers of the next conference have just extended the deadline, and I could direct you right away to the website, or Lisa could do that while we're talking, and the call for presenters. There are presenters in several different categories, so then you get the idea of how people engage. There's something called scholarly gatherings or scholarly engagement, where you could put together a panel. So it's the sit down and talking that you're thinking about. It's the panel. You could do an individual paper that then the conference organizers pull together with other papers that might be about a similar theme. We will have the possibility, I hope they're going through with this, of poster presentations. If you're in the earlier stages of your ideas and you want to present a poster where you can engage with other people about your ideas. There are workshops, and this is great. Okay, so Lisa's just put up there. So here we have scholarly gatherings. You could submit a workshop so that you can have something that you consider really interesting, like studio process, that you want to engage with people. And when you do something like that, you can also do the possibility of having all ages participate within a workshop process. So you can work on something not only intergenerationally, but as you spoke about, the intersectionality of knowing your own identity, where you come from, what your own practices are, and how you might engage with those practices with others. The twinning projects I mentioned a little earlier is where you engage with you put together a group and you engage with a group that's in another place and you explore these over time, and then you do some kind of presentation of it when we're at the conference. So it doesn't have to be a formal stage show, but it can be any kind of presentation of the kind of concepts or ideas or elements that you've been engaging with in your prior process. The children and youth performances are where an individual group will submit something ahead of time. Normally during a face-to-face conference, there would be just several evenings where groups from different places in the world are brought together for an evening performance. That's usually not very long, like an hour and a half. So each group will present their own work, and it's a chance for you as an observer, as a participant in the conference, to go to see what kinds of work people are bringing from different parts of the world. They're short dances, but it's really about the engagement of the young people. In addition, something that you don't submit ahead of time is this creative gatherings. And this is what I was speaking about a little while ago, where groups are put together prior to the conference, once the registration is there, and it mixes up people from different groups and different backgrounds. And then we have some kind of creative leader who takes people through a creative process. This is just for the youth up to 18 years old. And they go through a creative process. And usually on the last day of the conference, which would be a Friday usually, is then at this point, what happens is people will demonstrate the result of this creative process. And usually the leaders for these groups have decided some kind of overarching theme. But a lot of the themes in the past, I could say, really address some of the questions that you had about being with people from other worlds, about the kinds of issues that people are dealing with at these particular age ranges. I would assume maybe coming with this conference that maybe people will be dealing with the issues of being separate but together in this very difficult last year and a half and however long it goes on. So there are all these things. As you can see, Lisa put up some other, yes, Lisa, you want to talk about what you put there? Yes. So yes, so all of these possibilities are right here in the bullet point list where Lisa's put up. The third one there is the creative gatherings that I was just talking about, the scholarly gatherings, which is research papers, panels, posters, lecture demonstrations, movement workshops, and discussions after each. The twinning projects, which usually happens prior to the conference and then culminates at the conference. And then there are opening and closing ceremonies. In addition to that, one of the pieces that's really important, as the conference organizers have put together several keynotes that they think expresses some ideas. One of the ideas that's being perpetuated through this conference and through a lot of daCi work recently is recognizing it's a different name in each country or maybe different regions of the world, but Aboriginal or First Nation or Native people from that country and their own movement practices. And so it does intersect a little bit with issues of colonialization. And so we get a little more political with what has happened as a result of this and how can we decouple our movement from what colonizing maybe has done to our own individual practices. One of the final initiatives that really takes this much more in sort of an advocacy kind of political bent is starting with the Copenhagen conference, which was in 2015. We've developed these things that we call declarations, and each one has been named by the country in which the conference was held. So we had a Copenhagen declaration, I guess Adelaide, so we've only had two, and then there will be a Toronto declaration. And what they're about is reaffirming, according to some of the UNESCO statutes of the right of every child to live a good life. So it even goes beyond being able to engage with dance, but being able to live in a world free of oppression, to be able to live in a world free of the terrible ravages of climate change and the horrible things that's happened to so many of our local places because of climate change and the kind of destruction that we've engaged with our environment. And so, and then to live in a world that's free of the sort of racism and oppression that has really crippled a lot of people throughout the world. And so we make an affirmation at the end of each conference, starting in 2015, that we're going to go back to our own countries and our own localities and engage with these ideas and keep them going forward. So that's been a really strong, yes, thank you, Lisa. We have critical theory at work at daCi. And then people, the most important thing is because I'm talking about the wide age range, so people can engage with it at the, the level of comprehension and the level of engagement that they want to. There is no forced engagement that you must all be politicians, that you must all be activists, but you can take that energy and hopefully take it back to your own country and then find ways to keep the connections alive with other people and try to really think of dance as not only a way that we save ourselves and we make ourselves feel whole, but that we help others see a better world. That's what daCi is all about.
And I agree. Zaria, you had another question. Let's move back up. Thank you for that question.
Yes, please. What does her role as a chairman entail?
Say that again, Zaria. Repeat your question, please.
What does her role as a chairman entail?
Oh, well, that's a really good question. Okay, daCi is, now I'm getting you into sort of political academic structure. daCi is what we call a nonprofit organization based on volunteerism. So none of us who work in any capacity in daCi are either being paid or any of our work is being paid for. So with that, all what a nonprofit organization has as a structure is a board, and these are people who collectively make decisions and try to decide what we can best do to stay within our mission. So a nonprofit organization always has to have a mission, and our mission is to make dance accessible to every child. And within that, then we work at ideas and initiatives that we decide within that initiative, within that concept and mission. So my job as chair is then to structure all the formal activities of daCi in consultation with the whole board. So we have, unfortunately, on the dry side of it, we have a lot of meetings and we discuss these things in very pragmatic terms. We have to develop and maintain a budget so that we're capable of doing the things that we talk about. And so we have to make difficult decisions. Just like I told you, we're open to ideas, such as that person who came to us with an app that was being developed, but then we had to make the difficult decision that we didn't have that kind of money to engage with that, though it was a great idea. And most importantly is to make sure that we stay in communication with everybody. So if I had it within my own personal budget to fly around the world and meet everybody personally, I would love to do that too, but I can't. So, and the idea is to make sure that any money that's coming into the organization is used for the purposes that we state we're about, which is to make dance accessible for every child. So that goes to the conference, where we make sure that children come to the conference, and we make sure that all of us with the child inside us to go to what Timna was talking about, papers and panels and those kinds of events are centered around children so that we can increase our efforts in order to work successfully with children. We create a lot of what we call advocacy, where we reach out to people constantly and try to do like what Nicolene has done for this series of daCi Connect, where you're constantly telling people about daCi and making sure that they know it exists and how to form connections within it. So it's a busy job, but it's not a full-time job because, like I said, it's something we all do for a volunteer side of our lives.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Zaria, for that question. Who's the other one? I'm going up to Jodine. Jodine, do you have another question at this time?
Yes, another question. So when the conference does take place and we're in our respective, I guess, gatherings, will our internet connection, like for example, because I know in Jamaica, not all the time our internet, you know, is as strong. Will that affect, I guess, the quality of what we experience? And will the classes be pre-recorded just in case once the internet is not working, we'll be able to access the classes or information afterwards?
This is a really great question, and I'm glad you brought it up. And in fact, after this conversation that we're having, I'm going to send an email to the conference chairs to make sure that they know that you've expressed this. There's quite the awareness that internet access is not equal throughout the world. And one small initiative that's happening where there's actually money that was raised is going to shore up the internet connection with a group that's already in a twinning process from Uganda with a group that's in Australia. So that process initiated several conferences ago. And so there was an initial fundraising effort for it more than 4 years ago. And then that money has been sitting in a bank. So it was decided to use it so that it would not only increase the internet capabilities for these young people during the conference, but that it would leave it for longer terms so that there was increased internet from afterwards. So one of the ideas that I have about that is maybe, Lisa certainly knows Mabingo, who has started some of these efforts. Maybe she could have more conversations with with Mabingo and develop some ideas of how maybe in certain settings you could also start those kinds of fundraising efforts. And then in conjunction with that, I will speak with the conference co-chairs and just reinvigorate that idea. It has come up in meetings in the past, and it's really important that we hear from you and hear about all the things that are your concerns, because while you don't have to spend a lot of money to fly to another country this time, we want you to be able to have access even though you can't fly. And the internet capability goes down, it's as if you didn't get on the plane and go there. And that's really not okay. So thank you for that. Lisa, can you do something about that?
Mabingo, who's from Uganda, we started a conversation about working here collaboratively and twinning and stuff, and how to create funding or raise funds. Well, some conversations started when we were doing more Africa conversations by the fireside. It's often we have these rich conversations, and now we have to put the words into material form. So that's the next stage that we have to go. But the conversations have started. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. That's really important. And another idea that I have, which is hard if you come from a country where already there's unstable internet, is to see if you could find somebody who has any connections to any corporations that operate in that country that have good financial resources, and make an advocacy plea to those people that this is a worthwhile investment. And it's not just for this conference, it's for continued access. I don't know any corporations who don't believe in their own young people in their home country. So you really need to reach out to them and appeal to their sense of investing in their own country. And we're, you know, for a major corporation, we're not talking about a lot of money. So for us, it's a lot of money, but for a corporation that does work all over the world, it's a different kind of investment. And that's one way to go.
Okay, so we're working on that. Zaria, we're back at you as the youngest on the team. You have another question before I go back to Timna?
Yes. Do you prefer to teach children or adults?
I prefer to teach everybody. How does that sound? No, I am, you know, actually, I'm really glad you asked that question because at the beginning of my teaching career, I only wanted to teach adults. I was probably afraid of children. And one time when I was much younger, I was in a situation where I was not, I won't say forced to teach children, but it was going to help my income. So I said, okay, I'll do this, whatever happens. And I wasn't very excited. And I became so engaged with kids in a way I never thought I could be. It really changed my life. And it was just, I'll be very honest, it was just because I needed a little bit more money that I did it. It wasn't because at that time I was interested, but it changed everything. And I'm really glad that I had that opportunity. And now I have to tell you, I have 3 grandchildren. One is, the oldest is 5, the next one is 3, and the youngest is 1.5 years. And I hadn't seen them for a really long time because of the pandemic, because they don't live anywhere near me. So I saw them for the first time in 1.5 years in June. And the first thing, the little boys ran out of the house and they looked at me and they said, "Dance, Grandma, dance." And they just wanted to whirl around and fall on the floor. And I said, "I will do whatever dance you want." And they said, "Let's do the dance where you twirl and fall and twirl and fall." And I said, "Okay, Grandma's there. We're going to do this." And I was very dizzy, but very happy. My joy for dancing with children is just boundless.
Beautiful. You may have to do that for us now, but
Oh.
we'll wait a little bit.
Can I tell you I'm getting too old for that? No. They keep you young. Yes.
Okay, our next, Timna? You have a question?
Yes, I'm actually looking on my laptop and I'm on Zoom on my cell phone, and I've been going through the daCi conference 2022 page, and I'm looking at the registration section, and there's the registration fees and all of those things. My question is, how then has the pandemic, the fact that we can't all be gathered in one space, affected, for example, the rates of registration and all in all the actual conference and how we all meet as people? And then looking at the bullet points, the last point is the conference includes opening and closing ceremonies, which include dance performances. In the past, have you ever had people who take part in the conference and dancing from different dance schools be part of the closing ceremonies? So where as people who are joined here to learn different styles, then in the end they are somewhat involved as a dancing act in the closing ceremony. Have those kinds of things ever been considered, where then instead of it just being a conference where we learn dances, there's somewhat a choreography that's picked up along the way, right? Mm-hmm. To include the people who are part of the conference in the closing, in the performances, in part of the closing ceremonies. I don't know how many questions I asked there, but yeah.
Several. I'm actually going to start with your last question and go to Nicolene, because she was the developer of the Jamaican conference. And do you want to address her last question and what you did in Jamaica for the closing ceremonies?
Yes, thank you. For the closing ceremony in Jamaica, we wanted to have a full experience of our Jamaica, as full as possible, of our Jamaican culture. And so the students experienced different traditional dances that led into our popular dance, dancehall reggae, because that's how we feel it. Our popular dances are a reflection of our traditional culture. And so every afternoon, as part of the process, the students were engaged in traditional dances. And at the end, we were at the University of the West Indies, where they have a ring road, and there's a history behind that ring road, the coming together. And so at each point on the ring road, we also experienced dances from different places in the Caribbean. So we had Haitian dance as well. We had dances of Cuba, we had dances of Jamaica. So we're able to pull from the week's activities as for the culminating activity around the ring road, that circle, to bring us together as community. So they experience the different cultures, the different dances every day, so that they can bring it together at the end. And they had a wonderful time. They were able to have the different flags of the different region, the costume from different places in the Caribbean. So they were actually engaged in terms of Caribbean dance, not just limiting it to Jamaica, but looking at the region generally. So I thought it was a wonderful experience for the youngsters. They said that, you know, they journaled, they wrote to us afterwards to say that they enjoyed that experience of learning about the Caribbean as part of the week's activities, so that that they're able to bring it together as one in a big reggae dance. So yes.
Great. And the first question that I think you asked was about the fees. The conference fees, because we're not all gathering together, are much lower than they would be if we're together. The conference fees are usually for, you know, we actually have to pay for some of the spaces. They tend to be conferences tend to be held at universities or schools that have a lot of possibilities of spaces. Because we're not doing that, there's still many other things that have to be developed. Going back to Jodine's question about the internet, the conference committee has to work with a for-profit internet creator and things, and a web developer and a website developer. And so all of the prior work that makes that website available to you are costs that's been incurred by the conference. In addition to that, there are several other people who are paid for. I know I stress that it's a volunteer organization, but to come together for the conference, we do need to bring in some professionals. And the people that are organized to do what's called the creative gatherings, where the youth get together all week and do this creative process, tend to be paid professionals. Not professionals as in they live on the concert stage, but professionals in that they really have a lifelong capability of working within their own genre and the creative process, and are great team leaders to take a team through that process, because that's such a hallmark of the conference, that we have all this creative dance making during the time that we're all together. So I think there are a lot of expenses, and I'm sure that, there are things that have been developed through the process, like a LinkedIn page for the conference. And I don't know if there's, different. So there's several different, there's probably a Facebook page, a LinkedIn page, and all those things. While we don't, nobody pays to do that, we had to pay somebody who has the expertise to do it in a sophisticated manner, so that it has a professional appearance and engages with people, and then maintain it. And those people usually, unfortunately, come from outside the organization, because at that point we have to go to professionals. So those are some of the costs for the conference. And that's why, even though at this point we're developing, we do have a fee. The other piece, we can't just use Zoom and run a whole conference on Zoom. So whatever platform that's happening in which everybody's being able to get into a portal, those are quite sophisticated and they're costly, because a lot of organizations around the world are using them right now. A lot of professional companies have been developing them in a way so that, as I described daCi, there are many different things happening simultaneously, and people from many different time zones are able to log in, and then there has to be the internet, repository so that you can do, go see something that's already happened, or they'll be available for 2 weeks after that. And unfortunately, those kinds of companies are very costly. So I think, yeah. Do we need an Instagram person? Yes, we may not have one. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good question. Yeah, there are so many things. So right now within daCi itself, we have a marketing and communications member of the board. She is a professional in her own right, but she's doing it for daCi as volunteerism. So she's the person who keeps up the general daCi website. But these roles just for the conference had to come from an additional person, and that's where some of the dollars are going, Canadian dollars. Yes. Did I answer all your questions? I hope there were a lot.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Nikki Tabisa wanted to share, Tabisa, about, she has her children from 6 as well, I think, up to 21. I think it'd be great for her to share, what dance means to these South African children. And any he has, yeah.
Definitely. Go ahead, Larissa.
Okay. Hi, everybody. First of all, I am sorry that you're not able to see my face. I am struggling here with the connection, but you will see me very soon when we have another meeting, hopefully. What I can say now, it has been my 10 years now teaching. I started teaching in 2011. So Tim now was my very first student. I've seen how the dance did for her. She was both academically and with dancing as well. She was excelling. That took her to one of the prestigious schools that she never dreamt of because of her background. I'm sorry, Timna, if I'm revealing your information, but I know what dance did to you, and I know what it did to myself as well. So coming from disadvantaged community, and this is where we find home. This is where we find ourselves in dance or through dance, because it allows us to be able to be who we are. Because there are some kids, as I've been teaching now, that are struggling in academics, but there is this one thing this one teacher Tabisa, that actually makes them want to come to school, because there is this thing that they that makes them enjoy beside academics, even though we're not teaching them to become professional dancers one day. But what I believe that dance can mold them. Look at Timna now. Timna, I talk about her. I always, when I talk to my kids, I said, Timna just used to come during break in my class. She was in grade 4. I don't know how you call it in your other countries. Grade 4 will be, I don't know how you call it. Anyway, so she used to just come in break time, 10 minutes to 15 minutes, just to practice, because in my school, they used to charge dancing to be in a dance class. So they used to charge. So she could not afford, and most of them could not afford. And I could see the passion in them. And especially her, she so wanted to dance, but she couldn't. So now I just went to the principal, and in one of my kids, and I said, when the principal took them out because they didn't pay the fees, and I said, can I sponsor this one? Because this one has a potential. I don't even have money to sponsor them, but I'm actually saying, I don't know what I'm saying to the principal, but I'm saying, you can't take her out because she doesn't have money or she doesn't afford, whereas she's got a potential to be in a dance class and she wants to dance. So she did allow. I was like, gosh, I'm not going to have money. If she comes and asks for this money, I don't know where I'm going to get it, but I'm going to keep that child. I'm going to train that child. So what I'm trying to say here, that it did something for them, because the kids that I've been teaching, you know, when you have that attachment that you cannot even if I want to miss a rehearsal, I work in 3 schools. I work for educational department as a creative arts teacher. So I'm teaching both theory and practical in dance for grade 7 to 9. So I come from another school on a Friday. Then I will find them, especially my little ones, the 6-year-old to 10, waiting, changed already outside the hall, waiting for me to open and ready for me, practicing. So how do I cancel? Even if I had other commitments, I can't just cancel because I'm thinking of those little ones that are waiting for me. So you become so involved in them in a such a way that you are, they are part of your family. It's you live your life around them because you know that they are counting on you, and whenever there is something, they know where to go, where to. You could even see, because even the most of the choreographies that we did, they even asked me, so why are we always do this kind of stories? Like we firstly did about, what is this, about street kids. We have kids that are living on the street. So there's like a little bit of a distance from our school. In the afternoon, we walk to get to the taxi, about like 10 to 15 minutes to get to taxis. So we will pass to these kids. So I always observe and look at them. I say, one day I want to tell the story about these kids through dancing. But now I'm teaching little kids here. How would they understand? This is one of the challenges that we face as choreographers, that you want to tell your story, but will those people that you're going to give the story to, will they tell exactly the way you want? Or so then we did a story, we name it Children That Could Never Be. So I explained to them, and I tried to did workshops with them, trying to let them know, can you put your shoes in those kids? Because there are issues there. It's not like those kids, they don't have home actually. It's just that they are running away from issues. So we wanted to tell stories. So 2019, we did another story about the Marikana massacre, where our mine workers were killed in South Africa. So I wanted them to engage with story, or to actually know or tell the stories that that is happening, tell the stories that are real. But there are a lot of dances that we do in South Africa, especially with the little ones. Because what I will do, I have like 100 and something kids from all the schools that I teach. So what I will do, I will put them together in one big concert from 6 years to 21. So each and every child or every group is doing a different item. So we have a lot of dances here in South Africa, such as Pansula. It's one of our indigenous dances. We do gambut stands. I don't have, unfortunately, a lot of boys, but I have some boys. But I get my girls sometimes to be boys as well. If like there is a dance that did that, we will do Pansula to contempt, but we train them in contemporary dance because we find it easier to actually, because we don't just want them to focus on one genre. We want them to be a well-rounded dancer, so that whenever they go, they. So that's it. I will stop now. Thank you so much for this. I am so excited. I just wish that there was no pandemic, then we can actually see each other face to face. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. I want to make some comments
you.
about what you just said, because you said so many important things. First of all, I thought of one more element that's in the fees, Timna, for the conference, and that is we've instituted something called access. So for people who can't pay the fees, we're trying to take the access amount and direct it to cover the fees for those people who cannot pay. So that's a really important detail, and I forgot that. Tabisa, what you described, which is so critical, and your engagement with Timna, I suggest that you submit something, a scholarly presentation that's what we call, Mabingo is very well versed in this style of research. It's called autoethnographic research, because you just basically gave us an autoethnographic story, and Tina then can tell her part of that story. And what you're doing is reflecting on the way that you got engaged with each other and how it's made both of your lives more meaningful and rich even though they already were very rich to begin with, and how you brought your richness together. And I think that would make a great presentation. I will be glad to talk to you about it at another time. Maybe Lisa can connect us and we can talk about how you can submit that. These are the kinds of stories that people need to hear. And this is to go to another thing that you said. daCi is not about creating the performer. It is great if wonderful professional performers can say they got their start in daCi, but what we're about is making people's lives rich and meaningful. And if great performance comes out of that, that's a plus. Okay, so you really are directed to the right organization, and I so appreciate your story. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you as well, Tabisa. Excellent. We are at the end of our conversation. It has been quite rich. I know that Zaria has more questions because she has a whole book. But maybe you can send them ahead, so that, you can still get a response. But I want to thank everybody for being here, and especially our international chair for saying yes at the beginning, at the get-go, and answering all our questions, concerns, and being the motivator on this journey in terms of Dance and the Child International. I want to thank our young people for speaking up and speaking out, and for thinking about dance, in the way you have been. It's wonderful. Our future is set, I believe, in terms of what we do. So thank you very much for that. My name is Nicolene DeGrasse Johnson. I am member of executive, member at large, and I live in Jamaica. I work in Jamaica. Okay, I'm Jamaican. So I want to say thanks to all the Sophia came and joined. Hi, Sophia. I want to thank my team. I want to thank the daCi executive for trusting me with this project. And we had fun doing it. We thought about a number of things like the Instagram that Sophie mentioned, and for the app that came up before, because we really need daCi to be connected to our young people a little bit more, because yes, the national reps are out there, but the children, the big C is what we're about, and we need to find ways of making those connections quicker, because we don't want to lose that energy and lose our next generation. So thank you all very, very much from the bottom of my heart. Blessed love, one love, peace. If there's anything else anyone want to say, this is your 10 seconds. I want to thank sharing. Go ahead. Sorry.
I just wanted to say thank you, Nicolene, because this is amazing. This has been so amazing for me. And thank you for bringing all these incredible people together. And, the conversation doesn't have to stop here. There's at least one person in this call who knows how to connect to everybody else. So if you have questions that haven't been answered or something, just, contact me. I'll be glad to talk to you. I would love to continue the conversations, and I so appreciate the time you've put into all of this. So thank you.
You're most welcome. Thanks to my team. Thank you very much. Peace.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Lisa. Oh yes, our dance. Yeah, thanks, Lisa.
That's right.
We have to go back to where
we go
started.
out with the wind. We go out with the wind.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it one more time. Come, let's go.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go back to the phone.
So we'll do it call and response. I go,
Okay.
the wind, and you go, I am the wind. Okay, let's go again. So I go, the wind.
I am the wind.
I am the wind.
The sea and the moon.
I am the sea.
I am the sea and the moon.
Fear, pain, love, birds fly.
I am
Here.
Yeah.
Love, birds
Birds
fly.
Blah.
I am all of them.
I am
I
all
dance what I am.
all
I dance what I am.
What I am.
I
am
am who I am.
That's right. Keep dancing, everybody. Keep dancing for the love of dance.
Yay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye, everyone. Have a lovely day or morning or night wherever you are.
Bye.
It's actually at night in South Africa. We are about to sleep now.
Okay, sweet dreams.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.